Hi, I'm Michael Nadlin from Market Lead, and today's video is the first video of a three-part series of interviews and chats I had with Cory Lindholm. Now, I've had Cory on this channel before. I love chatting to Cory. He's on the forefront of PMax and Google Ads, so I'm really happy today to have the first part of this three-part series going live. So, you know Cory. If you don't, I'll put the link below to his LinkedIn profile. He's always posting the latest and greatest insights towards Google Ads and PMax. So rather than going any longer, remember, like, comment, subscribe, and enjoy. So I'm just trying to think, what have you been seeing in Google Ads recently? Like, I know obviously Google Ads is very a long time frame type of channel where you can do it immediately to get results. And also there's evergreen strategies that we've been doing for a decade. But because things are changing so much, and it doesn't even just need to be PMax, like, you know, you've been mentioning just before that you've been doing so much consulting recently that you haven't been releasing any LinkedIn posts because one, you don't have the time, and two, you don't want to be attracting more prospects. So what have you been noticing recently, like actually being in the trenches?
Yeah, so here's what's interesting is I'm at this like ethical I don't know what you want to call it. Like I'm at this point where I have seen so many styles of PMax, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh man, you wouldn't believe it. Like I've got $100 a day and we've got 30 PMax campaigns. It's like, oh man, on top of DSA, on top of branded, on top of all these things, like they've got the brain of a PPC expert that's been doing it for 10 years, but they're a business owner and you wouldn't believe the stuff. And I don't know how they have the time for this. And honestly, it always kind of worries me when they're that deep into it and they're still trying to run the business, because that should be something that's delegated elsewhere, but they just enjoy it. They're very analytical. So my point being, I've seen it so many different ways. And I think PMax is still so new, even though it's been several months, that as much as I would love to come out and say, here's the best practices, like these asset groups, these are the ones that are going to work, I have been overwhelmingly challenged on that so many times, where it's like, I've been saying even like, try to keep it to this, start this way, don't go this direction too crazy. I see people that have come to me as consulting clients where they've already broken those rules and they won, like they are
Yeah.
crushing it already. And now they just want to scale it. And so I'm very hesitant now, for better or for worse, to come out and say, like, here's the way I would do it. Because to be honest with you, and it's making consulting on PMax very challenging, because it's like they want to get the answer. It was like, how do I put this asset group? How do I structure this PMax so that it works really well? And it's like, we could try this. It may work, it may not. But we could also go this direction and it may work or it may not. There's just, it's not a well-established thing. It's not non-branded search. It's not just, where we honed in those strategies over time. Smart shopping, where you had different priorities, or standard shopping, where you had different priorities. You had your top of funnel, your sort of mid funnel, and then your bottom of funnel. Like we had all those strategies, but those took many months, and in some cases years, to hone those strategies to where you can feel really good about like recommending that. But PMax is still so fresh and so new and so dynamic, right? Like the features change, the feature changes, the insights that Google gives and then takes away, like recently with the share of conversions, where like some accounts still have that, and now there's clicks and impressions by audiences, and now some of them just get clicks and impressions and we lose the share of conversion. It's just like, oh my God, it's so dynamic. So I'm hesitant to say what I'm seeing is working. It's not because I've seen such a variance in things where one way for one company will work really well, and then that same way for another company completely tanks. And not to drone on and on, but I think really it goes back to a post I made months ago, where it was like, it's not so much about what works for all businesses for PMax. It's, you have to get really specific about your business goals, what insights you can feed the algorithm, and then all those little things. How good's your SEO? Well, your DSA may or may not work well as part of PMax. Once the algorithm is going, is Google focusing on like 90% shopping because it doesn't feel confident to go after those other networks? Do you have videos to work with? Then you start getting into all the muddy complexity, which is why you need a consultant or someone professional that does this every day to kind of like walk you through and go through those steps. But Yeah, I've just been seeing a huge variance, which is actually really exciting because I'm glad that we're not stuck into this box of like single keyword ad groups and do exact match in this ad group or this campaign and then phrase match in these and then modified broad match for these and stay on top of your search terms. Like it's not so here's the core way to do it. There's a lot of flexibility in this and it's a morphing product. So very fun.
Wow, that was amazing and a lot to unpack there. But
Yeah.
I agree with exactly everything you say. Like we obviously speak very like often and just speak about these types of things, but it really is interesting that even my like I have a best practice that I follow and I do videos on it. So like it's not like private secret source, but the secret sauce is not like the strategy, it's like the optimization and what you do next. So like I've got best practices about the certain type of audiences I start off with, the type of recommendation on the assets, and just starting there regardless of what the business is. But then from there it really comes to like when it comes to phase two, which is like optimization or like milking out like what data is showing in the inside tab or even what third party data is available in like Google Analytics. That's when people kind of hit a roadblock, because I've seen a lot of accounts that do appear to be going well, even though they set it poorly. And I'm like, look, if you actually just shift a few of these things and actually turn some of these settings off, I actually guarantee you'll get better results, because there's a lot of wastage in there as well. And yeah, I think you said so many amazing things right that I don't need to like say my 2 cents on as well. I'm just going to leave it there because that was extremely valuable. The next thing I want to chat about is like lead generation. Like I've been I've been starting to do it on some clients. Some are getting amazing results, legitimate leads, and a lot are getting fake, fraudulent spam leads. Have
Yep.
you been executing it on any clients, and or if you had any insights or just word of mouth things you're hearing? Because I know a lot of people on LinkedIn are posting about it. Even the guys at Solutions 8 have talked about it, that they're not actually running it unless it's like a many multiple step funnel where you've got to customize your own lead. Like, have you got any insights on that?
Yeah, I mean, I mostly specialize on the e-com side, but I certainly have lots of consulting clients around lead gen, and I have my own clients that I manage just under my services and my management umbrella that are lead gen. The only ones that I feel are appropriate for Performance Max because it's so display heavy, because for them they don't get shopping, which is like gonna be where most
Yeah.
PMax is gonna tend to go as far as success. Hence the success of feed only for so many people. I don't feel great about moving, and I've tried it, especially when it first started for a lot of lead gen. I felt really confident about it, and unfortunately, you just get to your point, lots of spam, lots of either maybe it's click farms, which is just people in a call center with VPNs, whatever,
Yeah.
clicking going through your forms. So yeah, I tend to lean towards if the form is difficult, it can actually be a huge home run and your secret sauce as a lead gen based account, like a company that's lead gen oriented, to use PMax if you have very difficult forms. If you can
Yeah.
kind of weed out the sort of click farms and the spammy stuff, you're still going to get spam in there. I mean, spam clicks are spam clicks. It is what it
Yeah.
is. It's online advertising. It's part of the risk. But it does work incredibly well for some of my clients because you have to go through like providing your social, like providing like a business, business, whatever, EIN, depending on what country you're in. They have to go through a credit check even to like finish the
Yeah.
whole process, and then a conversion is counted. So I think it's very, very, very important as a lead gen company, if you're going to test PMax, have difficult forms, cannot just be name, email, phone number, and then like any comments you want to add. You're just going to get tons of spam and you're going to pay a lot of money for that.
Yeah.
So
And
just
the
be careful of
algorithm's going
that.
to start optimizing towards that as well. That's the other
Exactly.
big thing that, like, for me personally, I don't care about the spam leads. What I care about is uh, inefficient conversion or audience signals or data signals that Google starts optimizing towards. Like, this is not based on keywords anymore. It's based on conversion data and other signals. So it's like, and probably conversion data is probably like the king of the signals. So if that's being set off path very early and very soon, everything's going to follow suit.
100%, because e-commerce, they get the luxury of telling Google, if they've set it up correctly, of telling Google, I want purchases, so find me more
Yeah.
people that will do that thing. Lead gen don't always have that luxury. Like, we can accidentally set the algorithm in the wrong direction to just go find more spam. So if you're getting a lot of conversions from apps, well, Google's going to go really heavy on their mobile ad
Yeah.
placements. That's maybe not what you want. So, yeah.
Like, I know this probably not gonna ever happen, but there needs to come a point where either Google's technology is really good to filter out that spam, because I don't know, only got like 1 or 2 clients that are going really well on lead gen and legitimate, and the rest I've tested on are just trash. So
Yeah.
Google needs to get on top of that. It's crazy that they haven't got some sort of way to filter that out. Like, even I know if I'm using a VPN in Melbourne and I Google something, I click on an ad, it won't actually allow me to go to the landing page. So surely they've got the biggest company in the world for technology. Surely they've got
Yeah.
technologies to figure out VPNs and how to, like, oh, anyway, I
Right.
don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but it's just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's really disappointing at the moment that that hasn't been resolved, especially because so many people are spending a lot of money on this and willing to test it when it's an unproven channel.
Yeah.
And I think there's a bit of hype around it at the moment, so people do want to get ahead of it. But I really think if you do want a guaranteed win with this, like a guaranteed win, is probably more on the e-commerce side, because I'm
100%.
seeing phenomenal results consistently with e-commerce clients where I'm like, do I have the magic touch, or is this technology amazing, or like what is happening right now? Like,
Yeah.
I've got a lot of clients that really just through different audience signals and through different asset groups and different ways we've built it, have grown their revenue, like e-commerce clients, like when they were capping out for months and saying stagnant, having like a 20 to 25 to 50% increase in revenue. And then it's consistent. It's like, how is this possible? But it is, because it's all revenue at the end of the day.
Yep. Yeah, I attribute a lot of that, and that's its own sort of topic, but I attribute a lot of that to, and I've made a post about this in the past, but companies that had focused so much on bottom of the funnel with Google ads, PMax forced them into top of funnel awareness building. And
Yeah.
now they're finally, even like forcefully, in some cases, they're not feed only, opening the doors to all these new customers that may have never found them. Or they were just being taken by competitors who were doing that top of funnel aggressive type of marketing. So I think it's really exciting. Yeah, for a lot of
Nice.
brands. Yeah.
Here's another question. Feed only asset groups, which you taught me about, or you've been sharing a lot, and I've been doing a lot of content on, because I actually heavily execute on all clients, even
Mhm.
against other asset groups, just to measure performance. Most of the
Mhm.
time, it performs better in terms of even just revenue and ROAS. Sometimes it doesn't. That's fine. That's why I
Yep.
tested. I do it without a audience signal with it. What do you do when you're executing or recommended? Do you do it with audience signals, or just leave it plain and just let it roam free?
Yeah. So say in the comments if you have seen otherwise, because I'm super curious to hear other people's thoughts on this, because I have yet to see adding an audience signal like go beyond feed only what I want it to be, right? So if you have seen why adding an audience signal to PMax, like a feed only campaign, if it starts becoming a full PMax where like Google auto creates assets for you, like let us know, because I'm curious about that, because I have yet to see it. Like I've tested that where I put an audience signal in, like really hyper specific or really broad, just to kind of test that out. And it doesn't become anything more. So I don't know that it really does much of
Mm.
anything. I just haven't seen that performance fluctuation from those tests. My go-to is to not add the audience signal, only because I know how Google does things. And I could just see them eventually be like, oh, you gave us something. Let's just go ahead and fill this in with some automatic descriptions, headlines, and then it's no
Yeah.
longer feed only. And that may be a surprise. So I want to avoid those surprises, keep the control. There's a reason I'm doing the feed only, is to have that really like specific, 99% shopping with light display. I want to keep it smart shopping. So I don't risk it anymore with adding audience signals, but I have tested. I haven't found that it becomes anything more than what I want it to be. So I just do it as a just
Awesome.
in case. Yeah.
No, awesome. Thanks for sharing that, because that's something that I'm meaning to test out, but I just don't know if it's going to be valuable. And obviously, you only know if it's valuable if you test it. But there's nothing really for me in the data suggesting that it performed better, because rarely are these PMax campaigns limited by budget. It might be that it might be prospecting towards people underneath a YouTube video a bit differently, but realistically, an audience signal is probably not as strong as the whole mothership of data that's available in
Yeah.
the campaign.
Well, and that's
Um,
also true of the URL exclusion, right? So the URL exclusion is another like follow up to that, because it's like, well, if I keep URL expansion setting on for the PMax campaign that's a feed only, does it become a full PMax? Like I've also looked at that, and I've yet to see a case where keeping URL expansion setting enabled makes it a non-feed only campaign where it starts becoming a full PMax. So that's another one that I just kind of default to turning off just in case Google takes that as a hint to expand beyond feed only. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there too, because that might come
No,
up.
man. Very valuable. Very valuable. Beautiful. So I'm going to take this conversation on another direction and I'm going to end this part of the video.
Cool.
Now, you know what time it is. I'll keep this short. Like, comment, and subscribe to keep up to date with the latest and greatest Google Ads and paid ad news. And lastly, it's your time to be number one. So Market Lead is now taking on new clients. So if you're serious about increasing sales, increasing customers, and more importantly, scaling your business, book in a strategy session with someone in my team and you'll get a free action plan. Just go to marketlead.com.au, go to the strategy session link, and then book it in there. So remember, like, comment, and subscribe. I'll keep this short. Enjoy.